Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Collins, and I want to talk to you today about a discovery I made at the similarities between tornadoes and grief. What you have to know is I live in the Midwest. So in the Midwest, springtime means spring flowers, beautiful green coming out, but it also means an abundance of tornadoes and tornado warnings. So one of the things that happened to me just recently is when we've had lots of tornadoes hit in this area. So whenever they say that on the news, my anxiety shoots up. And it's because I've been in a tornado before. I understand what a tornado can do and the devastation that it can leave in its path. But what really hit me this time is I was going to my safe place. And in my safe place, how similar tornadoes and grief is. They could be sisters. They could be sisters. Life can change in an instant. One moment, the sky is clear, and the next, dark clouds gather, and the wind begins to howl. Before you know it, the storm has descended, bringing chaos and destruction. Tornadoes strike with a force that leave behind broken homes, shattered lives, and a path of devastation that takes months and sometimes years to recover from. When I was in a tornado, it ripped the roof of my home off and scattered my belongings everywhere. I found my outside porch furniture a mile away. Well, grief is much the same. The loss of a loved one can hit just as suddenly and painful. So even if the loss is coming, the impact still knocks you off your feet. If it's anticipatory loss, it still is huge. The emotional destruction is just as real as the physical destruction a tornado leaves. Both are powerful and unpredictable and life altering. And just as a tornado forever changes the landscape of a town, grief changes the landscape of your heart. For those who experience deep loss, the parallels are unmistakable. Both leave you searching for shelter, struggling to rebuild, and wondering if life will ever feel normal again. But as with a storm, there's hope. In time, healing happens, not by erasing what was lost, but finding new ways to live and grow despite the devastation. With a tornado, there's always a moment that everything changes. When I experienced a tornado, I was in the backyard playing with the kids, and suddenly the sky turned green and the trees went. And so it was just a moment. It just was fine one moment, and the next moment, all of that happened. Well, the tornado struck without any kind of warning. Even when trackers have all the technology today, they only can provide us a few minutes before the winds arrive. The world can go from peaceful to perilous in the blink of an eye. Loss often comes that same way, whether loss or is expected or sudden. You're never prepared for the moment when your loved one is gone. Even a long illness foreshadows the inevitable. One day your world's intact, and the next day it's shattered. So the first moments after loss really feel surreal. It's like standing in the eye of the storm. There's a strange stillness that time has stopped. You feel numb. You may feel unable to comprehend the hugeness, the enormity of what has happened. But just as a tornado survivor might step outside to see their neighborhood in ruins, grief leaves you standing in the wreckage of the life you once knew. Some people respond to the impact just by going into survival mode, doing what has to be done, making funeral arrangements, comforting others, while others collapse under the weight of the sorrow. There is no right or wrong way. There's just no single right way to respond. And no matter how you experience it, one thing is certain: nothing will be the same again. At some point, you have to begin to pick up the pieces. In the days or weeks that follow a tornado, the destruction becomes fully visible. Broken homes, uprooted trees, and shattered lives, they create a landscape of loss. The hardest part is knowing where to begin. Grief works the same way. In the immediate aftermath of loss, you feel disoriented, like you're standing in the middle of emotional rubble. Everything that once was stable is now in question. For tornado survivors, recovery begins with small steps. They salvage what they can, lean on others, and slowly start rebuilding. And in grief, the process is similar. At first, you may only have the strength to get through one moment at a time, getting out of bed or eating a meal. But what you have to know that just as a tornado leaves behind visible reminders of its presence, grief lingers in everyday life. You have a favorite chair, a familiar scent, a birthday on the calendar. The empty spaces left behind are not just physical, they are emotional. But just as survivors of a storm begin to rebuild, so do those who have lost. They learn to carry their loss in a way that allows them to move forward without forgetting what was lost. And then you have to know that grief is cyclic. So you get these unpredictable waves of emotion. And grief is just unpredictable. Just when you think you're making progress, an unexpected reminder sends you spiraling back. It may be a song, a familiar scent, a holiday. All of those can trigger an emotional response. And you're back feeling just the same way you had when the loss happened. And in some cases, it feels even harder to navigate grief than a natural disaster because of its timeline is unknown. When a town is hit by a tornado, when my house was hit by a tornado, eventually there's progress. The debris is cleared, homes are rebuilt, but with grief doesn't follow a neat timeline. Remember, I said it's cyclic, it's not linear. Some days you feel fine, and other days the pain returns as if no time has passed at all. So it's important really to remember, just as weather patterns shift, so does grief. And it's important to find shelter. So in a tornado, digging your safe place is what you need to do. But in grief requires protection too. You should not weather the loss by yourself, not alone. We at the Motherless Daughters Ministry will walk with you. Finding friends and family and your faith might be other things that are very helpful. And just remember, there is hope. After a tornado, survivors don't rebuild what was lost, they create something new. The landscapes change, there's new homes, trees are replanted, life begins again. The same is true for those who grieve. Life after loss is not about returning to what was. It's about learning to live in new ways. but carrying the love and memories forward. This doesn't mean the pain disappears. Just as scars remain after a storm, grief leaves a permanent scar on your heart. But over time, the wound becomes part of the story rather than the entire story. Grief transforms us. It deepens our spirit. It makes us more empathetic to others. And my mother used to say this when I was a kid. And when I was thinking about uh, this poem for you, I thought of my mother because she would always say, "So, what did you learn from this experience?" So, it's finding meaning in the storm. So, no matter, no one wishes for anybody to have a tornado, yet in both, there's an opportunity, or, grief. No one asks for grief. But in both, there's an opportunity not to erase the past, but to honor it. Oh, his storm has changed the landscape, but it doesn't erase the beauty that was once there. In time, life grows again, even in places where the winds howled the loudest. As we enter time, I want to say if you're grieving, know this: the storm will pass, the sun will shine again. And though your heart may always carry the marks of loss, it will always also carry the marks of the love that remain. So as we end, I pray for you that you have the grief you can keep moving forward and trusting that there is hope and meaning in the storm.